Good afternoon, Board and Superintendent Segura. We're here this afternoon to talk about our equity assessment and this very first phase of our assessment. I'm Stephanie Hawley, and I'm the Chief for Organizational Transformation. This afternoon, we also have our equity assessors who have been with us for a little over a year, and we also have our chiefs and our senior leaders. We have Deputy Superintendent Rodriguez here. We have Katrina Montgomery, our interim CFO, and we have Chief Hosak, who is over talent strategy. And those were the three areas that were explored during this first phase. One of the things we want to dive into today is to make sure that everybody has a little understanding about the process that we've gone through. And then we're just going to have a little conversation and some reflection about what we've learned, what our next steps are, and then how we're going to integrate what we've learned as well. So I want to talk to David Lopez, one of the project lead here, to just give us a brief overview of the process that we've been engaged in here at AISD.
Thank you, Dr. Holly, and it's really an honor to be here with you all. So I'm going to jump right in to our approach and process with the district. In the equity assessment, WestEd took a three-phased approach to the work. I want to start before we get to the details of the phases that equity and culture responsive and sustaining education are the foundation to how we do all the work in our equity assessment. But the first phase is really around data collection and our research activities. You'll see that that included a document review. We reviewed over 30 documents, an exploratory data analysis, meaning-making conversations with the community, focus groups. We did culture responsive school walkthroughs, policy review, and policy reviews. That all of those research activities informs phase two of our approach. And phase two is really around identifying the inequities based off of that triangulated data from phase one, the recommendations that we're making to address those inequities, and then receiving feedback from the chiefs that you see on the screen, as well as the other chiefs of the district, and as well as the Equity Advisory Committee to make sure that our recommendations are localized and make sense and are contextualized for Austin. And then ultimately, our third phase is really around dissemination of the co-identified recommendations and findings, such as this board presentation, and we'll reconvene members of the communities to provide an update, likely after the December board meeting.
All right. Thank you for that. We want to talk a little bit to our senior leaders here. I want to talk about what did you learn through this process? You all have been deeply engaged in this process, learning from our community and about our community and the learning experiences of our students. And so want to start with Chief Rodriguez or Deputy Superintendent Rodriguez to share with us what you've learned through this process.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. So the process was extremely informative from start to finish. And it really provided me this unique opportunity to dive deeper into what our systemic issues were that were directly affecting our students, and then really identifying those barriers that continue to contribute to the inequity in our student outcomes. And throughout the process, we really engaged in lots of different comprehensive data and analysis, and it revealed some of these disparities, particularly in literacy and in numeracy outcomes for our students, our most marginalized students, to be more specific. And it became clear that in looking at these disparities, they're really rooted in some systemic factors, such as lack of access to resource across our system, or even not all of our students having access to high quality instruction. So this really further emphasized the importance of establishing coherence within our system and really having that one unified vision at all levels, whether it's our leadership level at central office or those that coach and support our teachers and even our campus leaders. That coherence is really the key as we really think about what are those specific strategies that we want to implement and put in place in order to disrupt some of these barriers.
All right. Thank you for that. Chief Hosack, we just heard Deputy Rodriguez talk to us about the coherence, the students' need for access to quality instruction. Can you talk about what you've learned through this process that really connects with those issues that she's raised?
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Holly. I could not agree with Deputy Rodriguez more. This assessment for me highlighted how the decisions we make at the district level show up in classrooms. And it really, again, highlights how we should be approaching the work, and it calls into question how siloed we can be in the decision-making at the district level. I think everyone's intent to do right by our students is present. However, I think the approach with which we try to do that we need to do better with making sure that in every single room, with every single decision we're making, that we center our most marginalized students in that room and with those decisions. I think that we can have much better alignment across divisions if we are approaching the work in the same way, because it is showing up disjointed and it is not serving our students with the greatest need. And so for me, this assessment was incredibly powerful to hear the student voice and see how those decisions are arriving on campus.
Thank you. And Interim Chief Montgomery, you joined us very late in this process, but I have to say you caught up very quickly. And so we really would love your insights on what you learned from some of the results and the recommendations of the equity assessment and over the last few months.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Holly. Listening to Deputy Rodriguez and Chief Hosack speak, I think it's important that we're all in alignment about the way that we need to review it and understand this data. It's also very important that we collaborate. So all of the things that Deputy Superintendent Rodriguez talked about, we have to figure out how does that impact teaching, learning, and leading, and then how does talent strategy also support that, and then also how do I support that from a finance lens. So learning the importance of this data and just having data. I'm a numbers person, and being able to see this isn't information that someone is expressing or this isn't someone's feeling. This is actual data that we have in the front of us. So it gives us a place to start. This is a foundational piece. And then now we can all work together to collaborate about how can we impact and do the best for our students.
All right, thank you for that. I want to move on to talk a little bit about what are the very specific recommendations that have emerged that are going to affect your work moving forward. And I want to hear from the chiefs, but I do want to hear just a little bit from our assessors about what they know about integrating and implementing this work. But I want to start with Chief Hosack first about those very specific recommendations that came from this process.
Absolutely. I'm going to mention a couple of them that came from this process that I think are incredibly high leverage. First and foremost, training for school leaders in trust building, feedback delivery, and culturally responsive school leadership. That's such an important lever. We know that the principal of the school is completely, it is so important for how the staff proceeds and how the students feel welcome and how we create safe spaces for our students. And then secondly, another recommendation that came from the equity assessment is providing culturally responsive, sustaining educational strategies, which is incredibly important because we are able to affirm our students' identity in classrooms. We are able to give voice to our historically marginalized students and mostly provide that safe space so that students connect across differences and that they feel that their campus is welcoming, inclusive of who they truly are. And so I think that these are incredibly important recommendations that have come out of the equity assessment they also connect back to strategies that emerge through our long-range planning process. For example, in long-range planning, it spoke to how every staff member should be equipped to provide high-quality, inclusive instruction. That goes right back to the CRSEs that emerged from equity assessment. And so lots of connections are running through LRP to equity assessment, but really this took us to another level of being able to prioritize where we should focus first for those high leverage models.
Absolutely. Chief Montgomery, just want you to talk a little bit about budgets. I know that you and Chief Hosack talk from time to time about budgets. So can you talk to, because we know people, right, are the heart of our budgets. Can you share some very specific recommendations that emerge that just really impact our budget allocation?
Yes, Chief Hosack and I do talk, and one of the things I'll say is a lot of times we're coming from different vantage points, but on this, we're very clear about what needs to happen. We're very clear on making sure that our students have what they need. So we've talked about how do we impact teachers, how do we impact staff, and one of the things Brandy and I always talk about is 88% of our staff, 88% of our budget is on staff, and 66% of that is in campus positions. So how do we make sure that we're leveraging all of the things that Chief Hosack just said? So my office from finance, we can't necessarily go in the room and impact like Deputy Superintendent Rodriguez' team can. And Brandy's helping getting the staffing by getting the appropriate person there. But we can make sure that they have the financial resources that they need to make those things happen. So strategically, we're just going to have to make sure that we're all in. We're going to collaborate and make sure that we're all consistent on what the message is and make sure that our budget looks like our values, right? So we have to be clear on what is our value, what do we respect, and what do we want. And after we find those 2 or 3 things, we need to make sure that our budget is 100% aligned.
Absolutely. I think we all second that, right? It's often said that budgets are moral documents.
Yes.
You can say what you believe, but your budget tells you what you believe.
Yes.
And Deputy Rodriguez, can you talk about some specifics that have emerged from this process that they're going to change the way you do your work, change the way that your directors do their work as well?
Thank you for that question. Absolutely. So, one of the things that, again, that really rose to the top was the need for us to have coherence in our system. And so when I think about some of those specific areas that we are going to enhance, this coherence piece comes up over and over again, because having that one unified vision allows every single member in our system to understand what's my role, what's my responsibility to this initiative, to this strategy. And then what does it look like for me as a classroom teacher to effectively execute that in support of students? What does that look like in my role as a coach, as a teacher assistant to effectively execute that? And so some of those key areas that really are coming from the recommendations of our equity assessment are making those data-informed decisions. That means that we're consistently analyzing our student performance and collecting data and analyzing student work, so that we're consistently reviewing that monitoring and finding trends in those assessments. Another key area is our professional development. And that's working hand in hand with both our finance team and talent strategy to ensure that those culturally responsive pedagogy is embedded in every single one of our trainings, so that our teachers are truly equipped with the tools and the knowledge to recognize and address those biases, make sure that we're implementing our inclusive practices, and then really supporting all our learners in achieving what their full potential is. And then also really enhancing those strong partnerships with our families and our communities, because they really are that additional supportive layer in our ecosystem for supporting all of our students. So really looking at how can we enhance the engagement of our families and how can they support us in our efforts for our literacy and numeracy initiatives. So some of those are just a few specifics of what we are going to be really turnkey next in our work.
Absolutely. And you just kicked us off into one of our last questions, which is what is next? So we've gone through this first phase, and I want to emphasize this is a first phase of an equity assessment. We have a lot more work to do with an equity assessment. But if you all can just talk to us, and Chief Hosack, if you'll go first, and then we're going to go to Chief Montgomery, and then Deputy Superintendent Rodriguez. Just talk about what are the next steps? What's going to be different? What will people see that's going to be different with these next steps?
For our team specifically, we have got to do a better job in collaboration with our partners, such as if I go back to the couple of strategies that are the high leverage strategies that we talked about. When we talk about training for our school leaders, we need to be in direct partnership with our friends in OTLL that supervise principals, and we need to be delivering that together. It cannot be a talent strategy says to do this or school leadership says to do this. We are doing this together because we know that it's a high leverage strategy to have our leaders, provided trust building and culturally responsive training. It is something that has been piecemealed, and we need to be much more cohesive about how we approach that. And so working in direct collaboration with our school leadership team. Second to that, when we talk about CRSEs, that is in direct collaboration with our academics team. It cannot be an add-on. It cannot be something that we try to put on top of things that we're already doing. It has to be the running through the fabric of our academics and what's showing up in the classroom. So we have to really take a deep dive on how we can meet these needs in an immediate way. And we have to do it together. We cannot say that is your strategy, this is our strategy, we'll meet at the end, because it's not going to work. We have to go together.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So I really kind of hate following with Chief Hosack because she has all of it laid out. But what I will add is, earlier today, I'll give an example. Deputy Superintendent Rodriguez's team reached out. And what I want us to do, I want everyone to understand that finance is a partner. We are not against, it is not no, it is not yes. We are a partner, but we have to build those relationships so that when Deputy Superintendent or Chief Hosack's teams reach out, we can partner with them and say, this is what we've aligned to, this is what our superintendent has said, this is what our trustees have said, this is what we're going to do as a district, and then these are the ways we're going to work together and get that done. But I want us to be seen as a partner and not someone that's just sitting in the back, with a pencil and a checkbook, and everybody believes that we're always ready to say no. So that's one of the cultures that we're going to have to change to help make sure that this process is a success.
And for teaching, learning, and leading, I will reemphasize the collaboration across all of our departments, all in support of our students, our teachers, and our families. And also reemphasize the coherence and alignment. And one of the specific ways in which it's going to show up is with our multi-tiered system of support, which is a direct support for all of our students, regardless of what tier that they're in. I'm really excited of how we are going to be utilizing our culturally responsive walkthrough forms as part of our multi-tiered system of support observations. And that is really going to serve as a reflective tool for all of our teachers and our campus leaders as we begin to align our practices, specifically around what are the principles of equity and inclusion really look like. And so that's really going to be really enhance our MTSS framework and really support all of our students across every single classroom within our system. And then I go back to our professional development. If our teachers and our campus leaders are equipped with leading this work and supporting our students in alignment, then we're going to see those student successes come out in their outcomes and performances. And so again, re-emphasizing the alignment in our professional development, also with our multi-tiered system of supports and our frameworks. Those are going to be some of those immediate changes that you will be able to see.
Thank you. And we only have about a minute left, but we want to end with our partners. And this journey is not over, by the way, because they will be returning to the community and they hold themselves accountable to be accountable to our community with whom they've been working. But I want to end with a bright spot today. Tell us about the bright spots. You who work with people across the country in different districts, tell us. What part of AISD joy should we celebrate and build upon?
Many parts. So I'll say that number one, the district administrative leadership team, they definitely demonstrated a high level of commitment during the course of this process. And again, we know that's instrumental as we work toward real and substantive implementation. So I just want to give a shout out to this group for all that they've done to support the assessment. Also, the commitment of the board. Again, they've been active and supportive partners in this process as well. Partnering with us, helping guide the work and helping us understand the community's expectations. And then lastly, I want to speak directly to the school community, everyone in the school community, because this was a very thorough and comprehensive community engagement effort that was really critical to the process. And again, that's why I'm optimistic, because from our interactions with the school community, again, parents, teachers, students, staff, educators, what we saw was that they're committed, they're engaged, and it's really a community that's filled with individuals and groups and institutions that are really motivated to help achieve the strategic goals of the district and to ensure that we're creating equitable systems where students can really thrive. So a lot of bright spots, but I'll leave it there. But it was a great opportunity to work with this district.
Well, thank you for that. And on that really bright note, we want to thank our board. Thank you for your service to Austin, not just the school district, but to Austin. And we want to thank our families who choose to come to our district, and then all of our staff who make everything possible for our students. And we look forward to a deeper conversation with the board in December. Have a great day.